Hey guys, and welcome back to Cruising with Matthew and my second instalment of my Cruise Hints and Tips series. Today I'm going to talk all about sea days and answer the question, are sea days boring? However, spoiler alert, I think they're fantastic. In terms of the number of sea days available on a cruise, it really depends on the type of cruise that you're going on. If you choose a Caribbean or a Mediterranean fly cruise, then you'll tend to only have around 1 or 2 sea days during your whole cruise. And this is because the ports are very close together and the ships can easily get from one to the next. In contrast, if you're sailing from the UK, for example, then you can easily have around 2 or 3 sea days before hitting your first port. And if you're choosing a repositioning cruise where the ships will move from their winter home ports in the Caribbean to places in the Mediterranean or in the United Kingdom, then you can have up to 5 or 6 sea days before you hit your first port. Now, if you're a new cruiser, the prospect of a sea day can be really unnerving because a lot of people think that there is a risk that you're going to be bored on a sea day or that it's going to feel really claustrophobic because there's thousands of people on these ships and there can't possibly be enough space for everyone when they're not in port. Now, I want to reassure you that simply isn't true. I have never struggled to find a quiet spot on any of the ships that I have been on, and I genuinely find that there is too many activity options for me to do in the space of time that I have. Realistically, cruise lines are aware that they need to keep their passengers occupied during sea days, and as a result, they will give you a huge range of activity options. And these can range from lecturers, or you can have watercolour painting classes, you can even join a choir, for example, which is what I would thoroughly recommend if you're a fan of singing, because I've pretty much done one of these every single cruise I have been on, and it's a really nice opportunity to get to know your fellow passengers as well as the performers, because they tend to lead these choir sessions, and at the end of a longer cruise you get the opportunity to perform with your fellow passengers, and it tends to be in somewhere like the theatre or the atrium, and it's a really nice experience, so I'd really recommend that if you get the opportunity to join a choir. Now, if that isn't your thing, you can simply sit by the pool and relax and have one of the multitude of drinks available to you. If you're on one of the larger, more activity-focused cruise lines, then you have the option of utilising things such as water parks, water slides, rock climbing walls, and you can even have things like zip lines or bowling alleys if you choose particular ships. So believe me, I'm pretty sure you will easily fill all the hours in the day if you're wanting to with such a wide range of activities. However, if you're also not wanting to do anything and just sit back and relax, you can easily do that as well. And this is why I think cruising, and sea days in particular, is so good, because you can easily just do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter if you want to do something and then your fellow friends or family want to do something else, you can do that easily. Now, one thing that both veteran cruisers and new cruisers can always concern themselves about, and that is the prospect of rough weather and rough seas. Now, let's be honest, we've all seen those videos on YouTube or in the news where you see a cruise ship being battered by some monstrous looking waves, and granted, that is something that no one really wants to have on their cruise. Now, the chances of encountering one of these storms is exceedingly rare, and cruise ship companies and captains will do their very best to keep these ships out the way, because ultimately no one wants to go through a storm. However, if it does occur, these ships are really stable and they utilise a variety of mechanical techniques such as stabilisers. These are essentially giant fins which sit below the waterline, and these counteract the motion of the ship. And for the most part, you will not feel any motion of the ship. If you are worried about seasickness, then do what I always do and take a seasickness tablet just before you go to bed on your first night as you leave the embarkation port. This is so I know I have something in my system in case the waves do become a bit more significant. However, I have been lucky enough to go on 10 different cruises in my time, and I have only experienced around 1 or 2 sea days where the waves have been significantly rough. Don't pay too much attention to these horror stories that you hear, because ultimately these are very rare, and for every cruise that experiences a storm, there are hundreds which have completely calm and flat conditions, so don't worry about it too much. Now, one thing that I didn't consider until I was a bit older and went on a cruise using my mobile phone, unlike land networks where you can pretty much go into any country and be able to utilize their network, this is not the case at sea. And make sure that you turn your phone onto airplane mode unless you are using the ship's Wi-Fi, and even then make sure that your mobile data is off. This is because maritime networks are hugely expensive, and I can't think of anything worse than coming back off a cruise, feeling a bit down because you have to go back to work in the next couple of days, and then realising that you have a phone bill because you didn't turn your mobile data off. So just something to consider. Now, the very first sea day after leaving port is probably the best for me, because this is really the time when you get to explore the ship to its fullest, and although you might have been able to explore a little bit on embarkation day, chances are you were busy with muster drill or unpacking and genuinely probably just very tired from the day before. However, when you wake up on your first sea day, you are well rested and you can explore the ship. And I love this because everyone seems just that little bit excited, because for most people it's a new ship and it's just a really nice atmosphere. There tends to be stores in the main atrium, for instance on P&O cruises, which talk about the behind the scenes of how the ship works, and you can also see some of the variety of dining options that you can have on board the ship, and in general it's just a really good first day. Now, even if the weather isn't 100%, most ships in my opinion can easily take the number of people it carries internally, and if it's a hot sunny day, then perfect. You can sit, enjoy the pools and the sun lounges and just watch the world go by. What I also like about sea days is the fact that this tends to be when formal nights are held. Now, this will obviously depend on which cruise line that you will travel with. However, on P&O cruises, the very first sea day tends to be the captain's gala night, and this is a time when you get to congregate in the atrium or a particular public area and hear a brief speech from the captain, as well as being offered a variety of free drinks, which is always well appreciated. And then you get to go to your main dining room. Now, these gala meals are insane, so if you do encounter one when you're on a cruise, make sure you've got an empty stomach. They can feature a starter, soup, sorbet, main, dessert, petit fours, coffee, as well as a cheese board if you really want to. So it just heightens that feeling of a sea day being special in my opinion, and I absolutely love them. But in general, I just feel that the sea days are really positive because you have no distractions from the outside world. As I mentioned earlier, if you do need to keep in contact with, say, your family and friends at home, or if you're running a business and you need to keep up to date with emails, you can purchase Wi-Fi packages, but these can vary from cruise line to cruise line, so it's important to look at these when you're budgeting for your cruise. However, for me, I just love being able to disconnect from the outside world and using my phone essentially as a camera and nothing else for those sea days, because I find it very rare that I can sit and talk and enjoy some time with my friends or family without the distraction of work or social media and things like that. I'll also just walk around the ship, especially around the promenade deck if the ship has one, because I just find it so relaxing watching the waves go past the ship as she steams towards her next destination. I might also finally get into a book that I've been putting off for months because I haven't had time whilst I've been at work, have a few cocktails, go to a choir rehearsal, swim in the pool, and also take advantage of the wide variety of food options on board. Now, even if you want to fill every hour in your sea day with activities and things like that so you never stop, then you can do that, and it's completely up to you if you want to be as active or as relaxed as you want on these sea days. So, are sea days boring? Hopefully this video has shown you that sea days are not boring in the slightest, and possibly one of the best parts of cruising. Sea days are a fantastic part of a cruise, so if you encounter a significant number of them on an itinerary that you're thinking about going on, simply take advantage of them and do as much or as little as you want on them. So that is my second video on my cruise hints and tips series, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this. If you have, then please consider liking and subscribing because it's always appreciated, and if you want to know more about Cruising with Matthew, then take a look at some of the other social media channels that I run, including Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. The links are below. If you have any further questions, please comment below and I'll do my best to answer them, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.